Something in between me and the tracings drew close, and I felt it press upon me as I stood right there. 9 white, smooth, round columns surrounded me. I saw curves of colors above. They became blobs of different colors. There was neon in the shadows. Above and to the east was a presence. I heard like a voice that I couldn't distinguish, speaking from those directions at once. In the final reading, which I will talk about shortly, I felt pleasantly numb and pressed down upon. And in the final scrying, there was a pink bending down. And then the energies flow came down me, and I feel throbbingly content. But during the pink thing was less pink than the surrounding, and the surrounding was more or less total. I didn't see the room at that moment. One could say that this book is for the sort of person who would like the Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, adventure, pulp fiction sort of fiction. For me, it's something a bit more. It relates to some mystical themes that are buried in it. In the prologue, we find the opening drive of all this, a certain religious cult, prophecies to consider. Well, I mean, as far as the storyline is concerned, but the general idea that there's prophecies out there and they may direct you, or you may direct them. We have the Drells, which are basically, the jinn, and their cult, and vampires and stuff like that urge along their agendas. Just like Shamgar, the purple dragon, there's sort of a lightning column device that is dealt with. The Drells, just like in alternative Christian grimoires, the jinn, fire beings, Davas, Asuras, Rakshasas, whatever you want to call them, they are called up to use them for their power. And sure, they have agendas that aren't quite the same, that may be too dangerous or may have consequences that the people who want to carry them out may realize. Who do all these things refer to anyways? I mean, when you are having vague mythological references, While sometimes these are vague because the languages aren't so understood anymore. I think if you look at the original Greek and Aramaic, or at least the different versions that exist of the biblical text, a lot of the issues are solved. The first chapter indicates that, we do definitely have our training that we need to go through, different for different people in some ways, like everybody else and others. And some of this needs to be put in the time and place that we are at. Chapter 2 can be seen as a warning in terms of grooming or seduction, or whatever you want to call all that, but also in terms of spirit possession and how entities will use other entities towards experience. And I think some of that happened via the presence of the Princess of Cups and certain other individuals, not just the male-female thing, but other individuals that I've personally interacted with, that certain experiences that I had, ritual-wise and otherwise, kind of involved their presence. And it was certainly sometimes that entities were present and working through them. And as far as the technique, I think the technique mentioned there as far as the sex magic is probably, pretty valid. I don't think it's stuck on that position or that particular formula, but I understand the two of those things going together. Chapter 3 reminds us that the state will manipulate the reference to religion if they can. A sense of reverence towards the ancients is certainly important, but we don't need to divide along lines as much as people think. Certainly breaking up into different groups, like you can think of the Drells. It's like, okay, are we going to use the Drells? Or are we just going to fight the Drells? What are we going to do in regards to the Drells? And sometimes, you both can show up and do your own thing, psychically. Chapter 4 kind of reminds us, just like Chapter 2, that some things are not so much about age, but the personal attitude of things. The art and tact of it all. Certain combinations of time and place. And, let's just say alignments that people can use.